over there playing peanuts.
Bill Burr, Shane Gillis, Jim Norton, Keith Robinson, Dave Attell, Dice Clay, and a whole lot more took the stage last week to perform at the 10th annual Patrice O'Neal benefit in New York City.
To see a show with Attell, Dice, Jon Stewart, Shane Gillis, Norton, I mean, just a killer lineup, and Billy just kills. He kills. It was one of the best out of 10 years. I think because of me holding it together.
I think, yeah. I mean, those other names are good. They're pretty good names, and they're good comedians, but yeah, it was really because of Rich Voss.
The About section for this year's event reads, if you never saw him live, the genius of Patrice O'Neal is not something that can be described. He was beyond a comics comic. For anyone who ever met him, saw him perform, was on the receiving end of his signature trash talking, or simply passed him on the street, you never forgot the experience.
White guys got a signal for nice booty, and it's subtle. It doesn't even involve like verbal content. You don't really have to talk. You just, if I'm standing next to you at a bus stop, this is universal. White guys signal for nice booty, and a woman walk by. Don't confuse that. Don't confuse that with nice chest. That's different. Nice chest is. Yeah, black men turn into ventriloquists. We see a nice ass, we're like, damn!
The ultimate comics comic seems like people's favorite way to describe Patrice O'Neal, who sadly passed away on November 29th, 2011. To this day, it's still super common to hear comedians sharing their favorite Patrice O'Neal stories on a regular basis, and many even refer to him as potentially the greatest comedian of all time.
Patrice, who to me is one of the greatest of all time.
Sure.
For sure. Patrice is by far, he owns a part of comedy that nobody else can touch. There's other people that have like categories where they're number 1 or 2 in the bench, but he's the only fucking guy who ever did that. And he was just about to get even better, and he was already just, he would now be just everything.
Oh my God, he would
everything.
be, if Patrice had a podcast, it'd be the greatest podcast ever.
Yes.
Ever.
Yeah.
He would have been the king.
Patrice O'Neal is, in my opinion, the greatest comic to ever live. He's also my last comedic inspiration. I've not been inspired comedically since him. That's not to say that there aren't great comics, and there aren't people who have done things that are very funny. But I have yet to see somebody do comedy that I thought was a better version of what Patrice did. Patrice was comedy perfected in the way that I view comedy.
Did he influence your comedy at all? Did he ever say to you, oh man, you need to go like this way or that way? Or
he used to try to do that to me in the beginning, which was funny, which was classic him, because I'd actually been doing stand-up longer than him, and he'd been doing he was already pontificating. But like the thing about him, I remember him was like early on, he was challenging himself, like going on stage and opening with a different joke. And like when you're a new comic, when you first start, like you're a new joke. Your opening joke is your life raft.
Yeah, that's a
like
risk,
this is gonna give me. And he's, he was kind of doing stuff like that. But he was. It was. We were both 2 fucked up kids, so we had to, good times, bad times, had to like fucking take breaks from each other. I remember we used to take breaks from white people in general. And like I had to take breaks from going down to the cellar sometimes. It's like, I just don't want to go down there and just fucking have to have all my deflector shields up and be fucking, shooting claymores over at everybody. It was a fucking war. It was so stupid. It's really been glamorized, that table at the cellar, but what we did was stupid.
Patrice is a similar type of thing, right? He was like a cornerstone of comedy in New York. When people talk about like people getting silly or being stupid, they go, God, I wish Patrice was here to see this.
Yeah, Patrice, he had that world-weary kind of swag about him. Early on, me and him didn't like get along, but we became friends because this guy was like, he was a real deal.
He was a real deal. God, I wish he stayed alive.
I do too, man.
Oh, the comedy he would have put out during all this shit.
And that's interesting because I don't know what would happen to a guy like him in this context.
He's not buckling, I'll tell you that.
I know, so I say,
right.
I don't know what's gonna happen to him.
The Patrice thing that I lived, so Jay we used to go to Patrice's house for like 4th of July or something. He always had a party at his house. And so I got invited, and Jay, and then I got into it with someone else, one of Patrice's friends, basically, and he was like, and he told Jay, hey, Patrice doesn't want Nate to come to the party. And then Jay calls Patrice and is like, well, the context of this too is like, so Patrice would always ask me, I grew up in the South, like I grew up, Christian in the South, typical Southern upbringing, going to church, all that stuff. So Patrice knew that, and he would ask me, like, do you believe in dinosaurs and stuff? And I would just go with what I would say no. I believe in them, but like, it was, I was like, I want to just say no. Like, I'm not going to give him what he wants.
Right.
Because then he would make fun of you and it'd be great.
Right.
So I would always do that. And so then, so Jay calls him and says, hey, our other guy says that Nate can't come to your house for that party. And Patrice was like, what? He goes, I didn't say that. He goes, that dude doesn't believe in dinosaurs. You don't think I want that in my house? I want that all over my house. He goes, he can come to the party. And I've lived my life by that. With that open-mindedness to go, if someone came up to me and was like, I don't believe in the moon, I'd rather talk to that guy than a guy that does believe in the moon.